Hi everyone, I'm presenting Transfers, Behavior Change Communication, and Intimate Partner Violence Post-Program Evidence from Rural Bangladesh. It's a study done by Shanini Roy, her colleagues, and John Hodinot in year 2017. First, let's look at the big picture. We all know that intimate partner violence, or in short, IPV, is bad. Not only that it's bad for the victims, it's also bad for the economy. It causes 1 to 4% of GDP. In South Asia, 41% women have experienced some form of IPV. It has the highest IPV rate in the world. Bangladesh in particular has high IPV rate and its social norms are conservative. IPV is problematic, so we want to solve it. There are different solutions to that. One popular policy tool is transfers. We can think of it as a tool to empower women in order to reduce IPV. However, resources are limited. Very often transfers are only provided in a short period of time. What would happen after the transfers are ended? Previous studies did not provide an answer. This study is trying to close that gap. It wants to figure out if cash or in-kind transfers themselves are sustainable post-program. Transfers are often provided conditioned on trainings or other activities. In addition, this study tries to discover the impact of these trainings post-program. So the two research questions are, what happens to IPV after social transfers end, and how activities linked to transfers affect IPV. The researchers conduct a intent to treat analysis uses data from the Transfer Mobility Research Initiative, in short, TMRI, a pilot safety net program in rural Bangladesh. One in the northwest region, one in the coastal southern region. In each region, 5 sub-districts, which have 25% or more households live below the lower poverty, were selected. There were a total of 250 selected villages. In each village, simple random sampling was used to assign 50 villages to the experiment. 25,000 people were selected. Then, in both the north and the south, villagers were randomly assigned to a control group or one of the 4 treatment arms in which beneficiaries receive a cash transfer, a food ration, a half cash, half food ration, or a cash transfer along with nutrition training BCC in the north, or a food along with nutrition training BCC in the south. Furthermore, from each village, 10 households are selected in the pilot study. These households are randomly selected using simple random sampling. They must meet 3 requirements. 1. Have consumption below the lower poverty line in Bangladesh. 2. Have a trial 0 to 24 months. 3. Do not receive other social benefits. So there are 5,000 target households in the pilot study. Beneficiaries in the cash arms receive a monthly payment of 1,500 kata per household. Beneficiaries in the food arms receive a monthly food ration that equals to the value of the cash treatment arms. Beneficiaries in the cash and food treatment arms receive half of each of the 2 types of transfers. The cash plus BCC arm in the north and the food plus BCC arm in the south receive the same transfer as in the cash only and food only treatment groups, plus nutrition behavior change communication BCC. For the BCC part, beneficiaries are required to attend weekly group trainings, some with beneficiaries only, and some invited their family members too. Also, there were bi-monthly visits to the beneficiaries' homes, and every month there would be group meetings with influential community leaders. Topics that were covered in the trainings include basic nutrition, health care, etc. There was no explicit focus on violence or gender issues in any of the BCC components. Along with the program, 4 rounds of surveys were given: a baseline survey, midline survey, endline survey, and a postline survey given 6 to 10 months after the intervention ended. The first 3 surveys attempted to interview all 5,000 households included in the TMRI treatment or control groups. IPV questions were not the focus of the women's status module in those rounds. Due to budget constraints, the postline survey included only a subset of the TMRI intervention arms. The postline sample was restricted to households with children who would be at least 30 months by October 2014. This sample consists of 2,830 pairs of children and mothers, Of this, 2,749 pairs were successfully interviewed. Then, researchers further restrict the sample to those who were already married at baseline, had non-missing information for their husbands at baseline, and were the respondents for the women's data modules at midline and endline. So the final estimation sample consists of 2,231 women across North and South. Mothers were interviewed by a women-in-nominator at a village center. On the post-line interview, mothers were told what would be covered in the interview, including the IPV questions, and asked for their consent. These mothers were asked if their husbands had ever done emotional or physical violence to them, if it had occurred in the past 6 months, which means after the program ended, and how many times. After collecting data, now let's move on to the model. Because probit model is a type of regression where the dependent variable can take only 2 values, it's a good fit to this study, given that the main IPV indicators of the interest are binary. Also, because the dependent variable is a binary variable, it is not appropriate to use a linear probability model. Otherwise, it would make no sense when the result of y is less than 0 or greater than 1. Let's look at the equation. Phi is the cumulative distribution function of the standard normal distribution. YIV is the IPV outcome of the interest for women I from village V at postline. And R is an indicator for the study region. Transfer is an indicator that equals to 1 if village is assigned to the food or cash treatment arms. Transfer BCC is an indicator that equals 1 if village V is assigned to the food plus BCC or cash plus BCC treatment arms. X represents extended baseline control variables, include the female respondent's characteristics. For example, whether she can read and write, her years of education, her number of children 0 to 5 years old, her age, etc., and also her male partner's characteristics. The results. Table 5.2 presents the main impacts estimates of TMRI on IPV 6 to 10 months after the program ended. The first 3 columns present results using a model without X, and the last 3 columns present estimates with extended controls X. Basically, we can see that transfers alone have no significant impact on emotional or physical IPV 6 to 10 months after the program ended. However, transfer plus BCC causes a significant reduction in physical violence by 6 to 7 percentage points. Why transfer plus BCC can lead to decreases in IPV 6 to 10 months after the program ended. The researchers came up with 3 possible explanations. BCC trainings increases a woman's bargaining power within the household and make her less willing to accept violent behavior through postline. They increase her interactions with community members that were sustained even after the program ended. They decrease poverty that were sustained even after the program ended, and this reduced stress and conflict within the household. Table 6.1 shows the impact of the program on the woman's economic resources, specifically her perceived control over resources in panel A and whether she does any work that brings in cash. It shows that transfers alone have no impact on women's economic resources, while transfer plus BCC leads to significant improvements. These results shouldn't be a surprise to us because we expect BCC participants became more knowledgeable and had a wider supporting professional network. Implications of these findings. This study shows that sustained reductions in IPV beyond the end of the transfer may require additional program activities that lead to sustained improvements in women's status. TMRI only explore BCC trainings. Furthermore, it's critical to understand which features of transfer programs are needed to reduce IPV and whether adding certain features to transfers leads to more sustainable reductions. Before I wrap up my presentation with my thoughts on this paper, I want to quickly go over the descriptive statistics. Female respondents in the sample are on average 27 years old, while their husbands are on average 34 years old. And it's common that a married male has parents living with him in old age. Female respondents have just over 3 years of education on average. Slightly over 50% can read and write. This compares to just over 2 years of education on average for their husbands, with fewer than 40% able to read and write. Here comes my critique. I think this study itself is very thoughtful on answering the research questions it raises. But I also feel that this implication is too specific and narrow to a particular population. I did a quick research and found that adult women literacy rate is 71% in Bangladesh in 2018 and 81% among rural girls aged 10 to 14. Studies also show that male is more educated in Bangladesh. Our sample shows a different story. Female is more educated and has higher literacy rate. TMRI only target the very poor population in Bangladesh. The model used does not have much power to explain the relationships between poverty, education, marriage status, number of young children on women's drug points to IPV. I wonder how the results would be different if the target population is different. This ends my presentation. Thank you.